Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's time for your NFL Week 2 review. Some pretty decent games that occurred this week on Week 2. Definitely enjoyed some of the games. Was paying very close attention to the Dallas Cowboys Eagles game. Buccaneers actually had a pretty good game too, which I'll get into further information about and talk in more detail. So, starting off, we had our very first game that was on Thursday night. The Denver Broncos defeating Kansas City 31-24. Definitely a good bounce back for Peyton Manning. He definitely put on a good show. Brought his team back. They were down by 7 points. I would have to say it was 24-17. And they scored a touchdown, tied the game up, and then got a fumble recovery from Kansas City, fumbling the ball. Jamal Charles was playing really well, and he fumbled the ball in that game. Kind of disappointing to see. Was kind of upset that he lost that game. I really thought Kansas City was going to win this. But, Denver's not a bad team. I can't say that they are. But they definitely got a long way to go to get back to where they were 2 years ago when they went to Super Bowl 48. So definitely they got a lot to work on and improve. Definitely the defense is one of probably the major concerns that they have, probably, and the offense a little bit. But they improved a lot better than week one. From week one, because week one they were absolutely horrible offensively, especially Peyton Manning the most. But good game by Peyton Manning, and absolutely outstanding by the defense to cause a turnover, run it back for a touchdown, and right then and there get the lead at the last few seconds left in the fourth quarter. Very impressive. We also had New England beating Buffalo 40-32. Great game by Tom Brady. Outstanding. Really. Over 400 yards, 4 TDs, one to Gronkowski, one to Joel Edelman, and 2 others, I think, to some other receivers. I'm not quite sure. I didn't look into the stats, but I know for a fact he at least got 4 touchdowns, over 400 yards, and played a really outstanding game. Now, Buffalo, on the other hand, they fell far back in this game. They were down by a shitload of points. But Buffalo managed to make a comeback and try to tie the game. Unfortunately, they lost, 40-32, and they lost by 8 points. All they needed was a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and they would have been right back in it, and the game would have went to overtime. Do I say that Rex Ryan and Buffalo are shit because of this game? Absolutely not. They came back from a large deficit and turned this into a game somewhat against a really good team. I mean, New England's not a team that you say sucks. I don't care what the information says online about how New England's cheaters and all this shit. I don't care. This team is fucking good. You can bank on this that they are one of the contenders to be in the Super Bowl again this year. I definitely more than likely assume that this is going to happen. Tom Brady again played an outstanding game, and next week he's playing Jacksonville. He should probably have pretty much a similar game against Jacksonville. Jacksonville really surprised a lot of people, and I'll get into more information about that. Carolina beat Houston 24-17. Another good game by Cam Newton. Not too bad, not too shabby. Saw on the highlights he actually ran one of the got a rushing TD with an outstanding movie-like type maneuver in the end zone. He got hit, he flew around, and then he got hit in the back and landed on his feet. Looked like something straight out of a movie. Awesome play there. That was a pretty cool highlight on him. And not bad by Carolina. Carolina now 2-0, doing an outstanding job holding down the NFC South Division. So with Atlanta also tied with them as well, they actually won 24-20 in a very tight game between them and New York Giants. Giants, unfortunately, are 0-2. They really have got to, they're not losing horribly. They're losing in very close games. But regardless of how you're losing, you're still losing. Whether you're losing close or getting wiped out, it don't matter. You got to start somewhere. You got to start getting wins. And that's what matters the most, the win. How much you're winning by or how much you're losing by don't matter. It's how you performed and how you finished. And unfortunately, the Giants are not doing that. They are not able to finish with a win. And this is the second week in a row where they lost in a very close game. And they really need to start making some improvements on this so that they could get back with the opportunity of taking over the NFC East division. We also had Arizona and Chicago. My God, Chicago is falling apart at the seams. They haven't done nothing. Jay Cutler, I believe, was out with an injury. And Jimmy Clausen came in, played absolutely horrible, threw, I think, 2 interceptions, only 113 yards or so. And he didn't play all that great. Carson Palmer, he was outstanding in this game. Got them some touchdowns. They got some rushing touchdowns, I do believe. I don't know all the stats. I just do know that the Arizona Cardinals were pretty much dominating this game from beginning to end. So, I mean, this game was really a one-sided affair. And Arizona now 2-0 in their division in the West of NFC. And they're playing great. I think that they could be contenders in the NFC to go into the Super Bowl, at least being in the NFC Conference Championship altogether. We also had Cincinnati defeating San Diego. I was actually very surprised by this, seeing San Diego lose to Cincinnati 24-19 at this game. A very close fought game, but I mean, and San Diego had to come back again, and this time they fell short and lost. Not a very good way of, getting the season started with 2 games where you had to come back from, being behind. They really need to, like in the next game, they're playing Minnesota actually next week in week 3. Hopefully they get a big lead on Minnesota and keep it and end up doing absolutely outstanding in this game against Minnesota. But Minnesota, speaking of them, they won 26-16 over Detroit. Minnesota is now 1-1. Very huge turnaround on Minnesota. They went from losing 20-3 to San Francisco last week to this week. They are playing great. They played really well. Detroit, very surprising. I believe they are 0-2, if I remember correctly. Give me 1 second. But, yeah, I mean, Detroit is not playing good football this year. They are, behind in, what they've been doing. But I just think that this is kind of sad on, Detroit. They really are not going... They're not doing all that great this year. Not playing very solid football like they were last year to make the playoffs. So I'm very surprised by this. But moving on with other things, Cleveland, surprisingly, wow, they won a game against Tennessee. The same team I complimented about and said Mariota played awesome last week. This week he struggled. He got sacked several times. The offensive line wasn't there. The defense was not there whatsoever. Twice, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, what the fuck? He finally woke up. Hey, maybe he'll be the starter for the fucking Cleveland Browns. Who the hell knows? Hopefully, though, he does. I mean, I think he was an outstanding, player in college. He was very entertaining. Did a lot of crazy shit on the field. And, this really could turn out something to be good, or it just was a one-hit wonder type of thing. It was just a one-game type of thing, and he'll go right back to playing like how he was when he got in the NFL at first. But complete flip of the script on not Johnny Manziel, but on Marcus Mariota, man. His defense wasn't there. His offensive line wasn't there. He scored at least 2 touchdowns. Still has not to throw an interception in his NFL debut of the regular season of his first year. So that's not too bad. He's got 6 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. That's pretty good. I mean, for a rookie quarterback, that's pretty fucking awesome. I mean, for him not to throw a single interception yet in 2 games, it's very surprising, actually. So, I mean, he should be... I definitely think he's still going to turn out to be a good quarterback. Now, is he going to take the Titans to the playoffs? I don't know yet. That's going to have to play out through the season, see how that works out. But, as a player, individually, he is playing great. He's, he wasn't as accurate as he was last week, but he wasn't throwing any interceptions, and he hasn't thrown an interception yet, and he's thrown nothing but touchdowns, and he's been averaging at least over 200 yards a game. So that's something to say for a rookie quarterback coming out of college. I think that's pretty freaking awesome. We already talked about Detroit and Minnesota. Now, Tampa Bay and New Orleans. I have one thing to say. Where the fuck is Drew Brees? This guy is not the same quarterback that he once was. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, he could light up the scoreboard. Now, this motherfucker is lucky he can get a pass completed without throwing an interception in a game. This is very shocking to me, actually. Drew Brees has been playing like absolute shit in the last 2 games. They have not been able to average more than 19 points. This is the second game they went with 19 points. Seems like 19 is their lucky number. Once they hit 19, they can't score anymore. But they lost to the Buccaneers, where they as well have flipped the script in a positive direction. Had defense, sacked the quarterback several times, fucking intercepted the ball twice. Winston was there. He finally was starting to play like how he should have last week, and he played outstanding in this game. He's got this tight end now that he's like one of his favorite targets that he throws to. He threw to Vincent Jackson, a TD lob pass, which was a beautiful pass, right on the money, right in the hands of Vincent Jackson. Beautiful catch on his part, and very good game, very entertaining, and I liked it. I thought it was a very fun and entertaining game to watch. So, good performance by Winston. Nice, trying to kick, get away from what happened last week. Forget about what happened. It's in the past. Move on. Pretend like it didn't, and just go into a forward direction, basically. And that's what he did. Smart move on Winston's part. Good game by him. Whether I like him or I don't, he played an outstanding game, and I think that maybe if he continues to have games like this, he will be as successful as how I'm predicting Marcus Mariota is going to be. But it's just one game. Same thing for Johnny Manziel. These 2 guys have been struggling. Johnny Manziel longer than Winston. But still, Winston's got some ways to go. And so does Manziel, to be looked at as a successful quarterback for the future. Do I think that Winston might turn out to be promising for Tampa? Maybe. I think he might be. I mean, in my prediction video of how Buccaneers season's going to turn out to be, I said that Winston's going to be a pretty alright quarterback and turn out to be decent in the future. So, I definitely still am going to stick to that comment, but, things can change in a blink of an eye with how players play from week to week. That's just the way it is. I mean, if you take, I forgot to mention Adrian Peterson. That guy, he went ahead, got 10 carries, only 31 yards in week 1. Week 2, he got freaking over 130 yards. I mean, the guy was a freak against Detroit. He ran all over them. So he had an outstanding game in that one. So there's another flip of the script on that. We also had, as I mentioned, Atlanta and Giants 24-20. Falcons win over the Giants. Very shocking on that. Pittsburgh mopped the floor with San Francisco. Ben Roethlisberger, like Tom Brady, was bombing it all over the place. He got over 350 yards, 3 TDs. Antonio Brown got 195 yards off of those 352 yards that Ben Roethlisberger threw throughout that entire game, and 1 TD that he got thrown to him. Outstanding performance by Pittsburgh. Way to bounce back from week 1. Even though, yeah, they didn't do so bad, but it was still a loss. They came back in this game and mopped the floor with San Francisco. Very surprised how San Francisco just fell apart in this game, winning against Minnesota last week. They played absolutely great. In this one, they just weren't even there. A lot of flip of the script type of things going on here. Teams playing the opposite way than they did in week 1. Washington played successful. St. Louis was horrible in that game. Washington won 24-10. Nick Foles was not even there. Another one game played great, the next game played horrible type of scenario here. From what I think I saw, I believe, let me just go ahead and take a look here since I'm on the NFL.com website on my cell phone here. Let me just take a look here and see how many yards Nick Foles got in this game, because I don't think he got a whole lot. I think it was like 150 yards at the most. Just one sec. Yeah, Nick Foles only got 150 yards for 1 TD. No interceptions, though, which is good. But, I mean, he only got 17 completions out of 32 attempts. That's not really that good, stat-wise. But, I mean, you know, whatever. You know, there ain't much you can do as a fan. I'm a fan of all football teams. I really don't have an all-time favorite, except maybe I pay very close attention. I favor a little more over the Bucks, Dallas, and Miami, but I like watching all the games. I like professional NFL, and I don't care who really wins, honestly. But those are my 3 teams that, if they're winning, I'm going to favor them over the other team, you know. So that's just, those are just my real favorites, but I really don't have an all-time favorite team that I just, if they lose, I go, oh my God, I'm going to die here, you know. I just love watching professional football, that's it. Jacksonville, Miami. My God, this was pathetic. I didn't watch this game. Ryan Tannehill did good, but the defense, again, was not there. They lost to Jacksonville 23-20, and Jacksonville won this game. I mean, they blatantly won. There was nothing here you could say or debate that changes that fact. There was no screw job, no nothing. It just, the fact is, Miami ain't got a defense. They don't stop a team from scoring. They really don't. I mean, this was pathetic. Jacksonville able to do what they did to Miami was sickening to watch. I mean, I didn't watch a whole lot of it, but I caught some highlights, and just seeing some of the things that, I mean, Miami just sucked in this game. Their defense is not there. 2 teams back-to-back, Washington and Jacksonville, they did not have successful seasons last year, and in this season, they struggled against Washington to win, and in this one, they lost in a nail-biter. Why they even lost, period, is beyond me, or even, they should have been winning this game in a landslide, and instead they they lost by 3 points. It's very sad, very pathetic, really. Oakland, Baltimore, 37-33. Really high-scoring game. I wish I could have caught this on TV. Fortunately, I'm not in the area where the game was being played, so I can't watch it. I'm in Tampa, so it's kind of hard to see all the games unless you have NFL Season Pass or whatever. And they want you to pay like $100 a year or a month or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, that's a lot very expensive. But yeah, this game was very high scoring, 37-33. I don't know what's going on with Baltimore. They have no defense. Their offense is they struggle every time they get on that field. Joe Flacco has been throwing plenty of interceptions, more than often than he's ever has had in his career before. And Derek Carr, he had an outstanding performance and did very well. Dallas, oh man, Dallas, they won this game, but I don't know how much of a victory it really was. Won 20-10 over Philadelphia. I was worried at how DeMarco Murray would do against Dallas. I thought he was going to run all over him. He didn't do shit. He was lucky he even went over a yard in this game. Every freaking attempt he tried to run, he got knocked back and lost yardage. This was sick. Couldn't believe this. So, I mean, but the one thing that was a big scare here is Tony Romo ended up getting his arm messed up, and he's out for 8 weeks. I've heard on ESPN he will not be getting surgery. He's just got to recover for 8 weeks, which they said he won't be back until Thanksgiving game. Oh, God. What are they going to do? I have no fucking idea, and kind of concerned about it. The Eagles, they were nowhere to be found. They couldn't play worth a shit offensively or defensively. I mean, defensively, they were playing pretty good for a while, but then after that, they just kind of fell apart. Mainly because of the fact the Cowboys had time of possession more often than the Eagles did, and it just tired the defense out, which is logical. That's going to happen. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys beat them and won this game 20-10. Green Bay versus Seattle. This was a shocking game. Green Bay walked away with the victory, getting revenge on the loss that they had in the NFC Championship game back last year. And I gotta say, this was very impressive. Aaron Rodgers, he was throwing outstanding in this game. Very good job on his part. Seattle's got no defense. I'm seeing the way they're playing. 2 weeks back-to-back over 20 points. This is not like Seattle. Seattle, in the last several seasons, I never heard of Seattle giving up so many points in 2 games. They've given up over 61 points. They've given up 61 points in 2 games. I have never heard of Seattle allowing that many points in 2 games before. This is new and a horrible Seattle defense. The offense isn't all that great either. From some information I've learned watching ESPN, Jimmy Graham is a lot to be pointed to why the offense of Seattle does not have a running game. He's not exactly what you call a blocker of a tight end. He's more of a receiver. And to be honest with you, I think the Seattle Seahawks should have just stuck with the tight end that they had, unless they had to release him or they just couldn't afford to keep him and they went for Jimmy Graham instead. But they should have kept the original tight end that they had, because whatever that tight end that they had last season was doing what they needed him to do. Block for Marshawn Lynch to get a lot of yards. That's what they depended on. They also depended on throwing. But their rushing was one of their key points of winning games offensively. Now, Marshawn Lynch ain't averaging but more than maybe 50 to 70 yards a game, which is not exactly Marshawn Lynch's type of stat numbers. It's usually 90, 100, maybe to 120 yards a game. This is not Marshawn Lynch. This is not the same type of Marshawn Lynch we're all used to. We're more used to seeing him in the 90s and in the 120s, and he ain't averaging anywhere near that at this point in the last 2 games. I think he's even lucky if he's at 100 yards for this total overall season so far in 2 games. So very, very lot for Seattle to worry about here. Better change real quick. And their defense, they better change really fucking quick, because if they don't get their defense back on track the way they used to be, they're going to start losing a lot more than winning. That's all I have to say on that. Next, after that, the Monday night game from last night, the New York Jets, 2-0 now, 20-7 over the Indianapolis Colts. Wow. This is fucking mind-boggling. 2 games in a row, back-to-back, Indiana has lost. Indianapolis Colts have lost. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Is this like the Twilight Zone for Indianapolis Colts? I don't remember them playing this fucking bad. Last season they were in the NFC Championship game, or the AFC Championship game, excuse me. And now they're losing to anyone and everybody. Pretty fucking weird. I'm very shocked by all this. I think that Andrew Luck is a good quarterback, and he's just not playing the way he normally plays, and that has a lot to do with the offensive line. From what I've heard, what I've researched, he's been getting sacked a lot more than he used to, and he's just having a really hard time trying to get his stats up, trying to lead that team into the end zone, and getting them wins. So, and I guess it really shows through, because Frank Gore ain't doing a whole lot either running-wise. Usually he's at least close to 100 yards a game if he's having a good season. I think it has a lot to do with the offensive line. I don't know what's going on with them, but they are falling apart at the seams as it comes to the offensive line. Defensively, I guess you could say they're playing just about the same. It's just their offense needs to pick up so that they can keep up with the other teams that they play against, and that's really all they need. They just need the offense to wake up, and I think it would just be enough for them to be able to walk away with a victory. But that's just my opinion. I don't know the whole story, because I don't know every fucking team and what's going on with every team, but just based on the highlights of the games that I've seen, it really looks like the Colts need to improve on the offensive line end, and they'll be alright. That's just my opinion. But anyway, at this time, leave your comments and opinions down below. Let me know what you guys thought of Week 2, and I'll get right back to you as I always do. And you know what to do at this time. Hit that subscribe button and have a great night, guys. Bye.